Welcome back to the Aubservation. I'm currently in Miami for Art Basel. But before I get to that, I almost died last week. And just there's something going around. I'm actually concerned for people because I'm very healthy from, relatively healthy. And I got very, very sick after my birthday weekend. I said it kind of on the last show. I was coming down with something. And I had like 103 temperature that would not break. I will spare you some of the other details, but it was like the worst sickness I've ever had. And I've had COVID twice. And it just was like, I can't explain how painful it was, but I was crying and I couldn't spend Thanksgiving with my family or anyone because I didn't want to get anyone sick with whatever I had. It wasn't the flu, it wasn't COVID. So people are also saying that RSV is going around. They think it was potentially the norovirus, but to get to the story about how I almost died, basically, I decided I'm not going to Thanksgiving. I spent my whole Thanksgiving alone in my apartment, kind of very sad, and it's so awful being sick. It's awful being alone during a holiday by yourself, and all of that was like just so shitty. But my good friend Casey Craig was like, come to my family's Thanksgiving, like, you don't have to be, around anybody, and like no one is worried about getting sick. And so I was like, okay, I'll come, I'll show up for a little bit. I went out to Connecticut in Fairfield and showed up at her house, got a plate. It was so nice. Her parents are so sweet to have me out there. I had a plate, sat down kind of away from everyone, and then went to sleep for like 14 hours, felt okay the next day. But then the following day, I woke up at 5 a.m. with the worst chills I've ever had. There was nothing I could do to break my fever. It was just awful. So my friend Sarah in Arizona, who's a nurse, was like, get an IV. You need to get hydrated. You have no any liquid in your body. You basically need to be replenished. So I hire this IV nurse who can only make it out until like 8 o'clock. And so I wait all day for this IV nurse to show up. She finally shows up at 8, but I, on the way to go get the door, pass out on the ground. And I can see the phone. I have the phones on the ground 4 feet from me, and it felt like that scene in Wolf of Wall Street where he does all the quaaludes and he's trying to get out of the car and he can't do anything. It felt like that. And so I was trying to get the strength to get the door. I finally get to the door. The woman comes in and she's basically I can't render a procedure on you. You look awful. I can't basically watch you and see how you stabilize and all this stuff. And I'm just so upset at this point because all I wanted was to feel better and want someone to help me. And she's like, I have to call 911. And I was like, oh shit, because I don't have health insurance. And that's not because I don't think health insurance is important, but as I switched to becoming a content creator, I got 2 different types of insurance, and both of them were not the right policies that I wanted. And so I got out of both of them, and then I kept shopping around, and then I have not done it. I'm that case. It's oh, I'm not going to get sick during this time. And of course I get sick, and I actually do need health insurance. So she calls the paramedics, and I'm like, okay, if they don't say that I don't have to go to the hospital, then I won't go. So the paramedics get there, they hook all these things up to my heart, they check my blood pressure, my blood sugar, all these different things, and they basically your body's going into septic shock, which apparently is when your blood pressure goes really, really low, dangerously low, where you could die. And the paramedic said that right in front of me. He's like, you could die. We got to get you into the ambulance. And I'm like, oh shit. I guess I got to go. And those ambulance rides are expensive sometimes. And I was like, are you sure someone can't drive me? That's how fucked the American health care system is. You're near death and you're but can we save a little bit of money on getting to the hospital? But anyways, they wouldn't let me. So I get into the stretcher, I guess, that wheels you into the ambulance, and he's trying to get a vein in my arm, in this left arm, and I'm so dehydrated that he can't see any veins, and he keeps poking me, and the ambulance is like going over like a rocky road. I'm like, this is hell. And he still can't get a vein, and he's trying to distract me with what I do for work. And I'm like, yeah, this podcast, sponsored by Cash App. I also consult in the crypto space. He's like, oh, crypto? I heard about that last week. Have you heard of FTX? And I was like, oh my God. I wish I was recording it just for the podcast to show it. I was like, this is a personal hell. I cannot believe this is happening. If this is how I go out, I almost die in this ambulance, and the last things I hear are, have you heard of FTX? I swear to God. Like, that is the worst. This is my way of going out. I was ready for that to be my last memory, but thank God it wasn't. We get to the hospital and they hit me with like 5 bags of liquids, and my blood pressure still would not come back up. So then they sent the ICU in, and they were trying to figure out if they had to like basically do something to get it back up. They gave me potassium and magnesium, all these different things, and now I have almost made a full recovery. I'm like 90% back. I'm pretty exhausted. But the lesson there is get health insurance, number 1. Number 2, I don't know, like generally, like I am healthy, but I think everyone should wash their hands and stay inside during this time. There's a lot of shit going around, and I would do anything like to go back and never get that sickness. I don't know how I got it. I think my brother gave it to me, but just stay safe out there. It's money, not a huge hospital bill, which I'm sure I'll be getting from the lovely hospital in Bridgeport, Connecticut that I was sent to. But what is money is staying alive and being alive and your health. So, be grateful for that, because it really is scary how close you are to just slipping away. I'm not trying to be morbid. I know I've been doing this like every podcast of like, we're all gonna die one day, but we all are gonna die one day, and that could have been my day. It wasn't. My new motto is be hard to kill, like Bitcoin and other things. You can't take me out. I'll die, but not today, And now I'm in Miami for Art Basel, so couldn't take me out this time. But anyway, time for the ad read. So the Aubservation is powered by Cash App. When personal finance meets your funds and the stuff that matters, that's money, that's Cash App. And I'm here at Art Basel because Cash App is sponsoring a few little activations. We're going to a golf course for a little golf tournament, which will be really, really fun. So I'm excited to do that later. Gonna be taking it easy though, as per that last story that I shared, but basically I think Cash App's giving away some Bitcoin for some of the people playing, so we'll go do some, like man on the street stuff, and we'll put it up on our socials, which will be really fun. Also, when you use code Aubrey, you'll get $15 in free money when you sign up, so use my code. Okay, Art Basel, what is it? For people who aren't a billionaire and associated with the art community, or don't work in tech and Art Basel's kind of a foreign thing, and it honestly was not very popular until a few years ago for the tech space. But tech, they like to just get involved with everything. So a lot of crypto people come down here, but Art Basel itself, the main sort of showing is in Paris or like somewhere in Europe, and then their US show is in Miami every year. And last year was like a crazy party time for Art Basel. It's a little bit more tame this year. I think everyone's chilled out a little bit on the NFTs. I have gone to very limited events as, I'm kind of recovering. I went to Meta's lunch, which was very nice for them to have me, and met with a lot of different creators and artists in the space. It's interesting, the sentiment from artists and the NFT side is so much more positive right now compared to everyone on the crypto side who is still fixated on basically the FTX collapse, which is so nice because the artist creator side they don't care about the financial side of things, which I think artists have always been that way, right? They're just starving artists. So it's kind of nice. I mean, the higher luxury art world is a little bit different, but it is cool to see that this industry isn't completely dead. And it's just cool to see different creators and artists still try to make something of themselves during this time. So it's like people who are actually in it to be innovative are here this year round compared to last year, which was just chaos and everyone FOMOing in. So we're gonna do like the biggest winners and losers. The biggest winner of Art Basel this year has to be NFT Now. They are, if you don't know of NFT Now, it's a super, super cool media company who basically aggregates the best top NFT news in this space. You should go follow them. We'll put the links in the description. It's run by my good friend Matt Medved and Alejandro, and they are blocking off an entire street during Art Basel, which is super cool, and kind of putting their efforts towards community, which is great to see, and it's a cool activation. I love when people are creative with what they do during a conference or an event like this. So shout out to NFT Now for that. The biggest losers are the nightclubs, if we're being honest. So like, if you're aware of the Miami going out scene, which is really just like the Atlantic City, what Atlantic City used to be back in the 70s to 90s in its golden era, is what Miami is today. It's also like the Australia. I was thinking like Florida is like the Australia of America in some ways. It's just totally unhinged down here. They do whatever they want in terms of how the people are, not how the government is. But the biggest losers are Miami nightclub 11 was processing an average of around $660,000 in crypto, because they accepted crypto, a month in transactions. Now, it processes around $3K a month in crypto, a 99.5% drop. I'm gonna say this is Gainesy's fault. I think Gainesy was supplying all of this. Is he not in Miami anymore? Gainesy's like this, if you're not aware of this crypto influencer that was down in Miami partying most of the last bull market, but yeah, that's tough. That's a tough drop. Nobody. It's kind of, yeah. So I don't even know if they're still accepting payments in crypto. So I don't usually talk about my dating life on my podcast because I try to keep my personal life private, but a viral TikTok went out this week about this time that I met someone named Tyler Cameron when I was walking home one day.
Date this past weekend, right? And cool girl, like, they're like, we're so cool. Like, I don't know. I'll let y'all dissect this one. I'm kind of following her, and she lives close to the area, so I kind of like followed to the front gate of where she lives. And
Tyler Cameron from The Bachelorette followed me home.
Basically, this is my side of the story. So what happened was I had a friend's birthday party, which was really fun. It was up in Central Park. Had a little bit of champagne. It was like a midsummer themed party, and we were all wearing these beautiful flower crowns, and we had like such a great time. Ate cheese in Central Park, which is my favorite thing, eating cheese boards. They're just so great. So had a great time. She was gonna go to dinner after that, so we cleaned up and I went home. And I get out of my car and I realize I don't have my keys. And which I later did find them. So this sucks because I really just had to change all my locks for no reason at all. So I can't find my keys. And so I'm like, okay, well, I can't get into my apartment immediately. I need to go to the bathroom. So I'm gonna go to the restaurant next door to my house. So I can't get into my house, so I go over to Waverly Inn and I'm like, I'm gonna use the restroom because I can't get into my place. But then Tyler follows me into Waverly Inn. He's sitting in the outside area, I suppose, and I'm going into the inside of the restaurant. And I go to the bathroom and he follows me in there, not into the bathroom, but like into the hallway area and is like, hi. And I'm like, hi. And I go to the restroom. All these girls were like fangirling, freaking out. I was still honestly a little tipsy, and I was like, I was focused on my key situation, which was just like a disaster. Because I don't live in a building where I can just contact somebody to get me new keys, and my roommate was out of town, so I was pretty fucked. And so, to deal with that, I was like, do I go to the bar to just drink more and wait for this locksmith to show up? But the bar was full, so then I'm like, okay, I'll just walk back to my house. So I walk down the street, and all of a sudden I see someone like run behind me. And I wasn't too concerned because there's a lot of people in the street. Then I turn around and it's Tyler Cameron. And he's like, hi, I'm Tyler. I just wanted to come over and say hello to you. Which was kind of an odd thing, to be honest, but the way he tells the story in his podcast is funny, like that he basically like came up behind me, and then that's really scary to do. It kind of is scary to do to someone. I've never been like chased down on a street outside my house, but basically, just introduced himself and asked for my number, and then was like, let's go get drinks later. And because I was locked out of my house, I was like, yeah, I could be down, but I need to wait for this locksmith to get here. Anyway, he basically doesn't text me back. And I'm like, okay, well, we can't get drinks anyway. You've not responded. And the locksmith finally comes. I finally get to my apartment. I'm happy. I kind of just forget about the whole Tyler Cameron thing because not that I didn't care. It didn't seem like that crazy to me, while everyone's like freaking out about this TikTok. So then so there's like, that dating app Riot. I guess like we had ended up matching on that. And we must have like, I don't even know when I ever came across him either, but I was like, wait, we matched on this app? And he starts to talk to me, and I'm like, Tyler, you remember me, right? You came up to me outside my house. And he was like, oh yeah, let's go out on a date sometime. Yeah, so then he was in New York and said, let's go out on a date. So we go out on a date to an erotic acrobat show on 48th Street or something like that, which we knew was gonna be probably bad, and I was with him and a bunch of his friends. So we watched the show. It's their opening night, so they're just getting all the kinks out. Have you ever been to a show where like it's their first night? And not only that, it's an interesting, like kind of bizarre situation. They're serving us these random like Hawaiian rolls with like sliders, just like interesting food. They had just painted something, and I got my purse in it, and it had gotten my dress like messed up. I was wearing a black dress, and I got paint on myself. And I'm like, and I'm getting a little tipsy. I'm like, where did this paint come from? We go to this next restaurant with all of his friends. I realize I'm like a little too tipsy at Cathedral in New York, and they're like roasting me about crypto stuff. And in his podcast, he keeps saying like she was telling everyone to hodl. I probably was telling everyone to hodl, mostly Bitcoin, but I don't know what other financial advice I gave out. But they were trying to like make jokes too, and NFT jokes. And it wasn't that I was mad about the crypto jokes. They just weren't very good. Like the NFT jokes weren't good. Do you know what I mean? Someone made a joke, and it just like, it's not that it's not a good joke, it doesn't make sense because they don't get crypto. Because there's a lot of good jokes being made in this space, but not the ones that they were making. Anyway, everything's good. It's a weird story. I think that's it. Talk about other weird stories. SBF is on a press tour right now. For reasons I don't know, because the last thing I would want to do if I stole $10 billion from retail would be going on a press tour and speaking on panels, which is what he's doing. So back in the day when Bernie Madoff stole $20 billion from investors, he was treated like a criminal in public. He was shunned, heckled, all those things. When SBF lost $10 billion for investors, he's applauded, like we'll put the clip up, in a conversation, and because he showed his face. I don't know what is up with our generation or what we see as noble, but this is not it. And so yeah, he basically got a round of applause from the audience. Some takeaways, I watched some of the clips, not just of the panel with the New York Times, but he also was on Good Morning America. And the questions that I have about like, it's just been so long to digest what exactly happened here. But in terms of the relationship between Alameda and FTX, what were the lawyers doing during this time? Like, how did they not see this or see this happening and not say something? And I just think there should be a lot of lawyers that are either disbarred or disbanded from practicing law ever again, because there's a lot of other people who are at fault. Let's grant the fact that SBF knew what was going on, or didn't know what was going on. There are still a lot of other people that then should have been knowing what was going on and reporting it back to somebody. Like, if everyone was just allowing this to happen, it's crazy. Sam also said that he got content after basically the crypto bull run and said he felt like he made it. So he wasn't worried about risk. And that seems like something I've seen happen in this space with friends, with different people that get really, really like a big ego, because you grow so fast that you do respond in a different sort of way, and you feel like you made it, and you feel like you're on top of the world, or you feel like you've made a bunch of money, and maybe you don't have like fame or power, but you've made a lot of money for yourself. And that can feel like you made it until you didn't, and it's completely rugged. But Sam also said like he's had a really bad month. Like, I have no pity for that. You know, there's a lot of other people who their entire net worth is depleted because of him. Also, Sam and I are the same age, but now I'm more wealthy than Sam because he's just down to $100,000 now, apparently. Allegedly. I doubt that, though. Do you think? I think he has money somewhere. Some offshore wallet somewhere, Switzerland.
7% Robin.
Well, he owns all that real estate still. So actually, technically, no. Sam's still up. Damn it. But if we're talking about liquid assets. Okay, what else is happening? Twitter versus Apple. So Elon Musk went to Apple headquarters to talk to Tim Cook because allegedly there was rumors circulating that Apple was going to get rid of Twitter from the App Store, which would have been obviously a massive problem. It's one of the biggest apps that allow free speech. And if Apple would strip that, it would have caused a huge problem for Elon and for other people. So they had a meeting. Now everything's all Gucci. They've become friends. Tim Cook has now followed Elon on Twitter. Tech bros being boys. We love to see it. Yeah, and that's our show. I'm going to go to the Cash App event, try to stay alive. You also stay alive out there. Good luck and Godspeed from Miami.